Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast for the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm happy that you could join us today. Before I welcome today's guests, I'd like to thank our 2024 President's Council sponsors. And these are a group of companies that provide a tremendous amount of financial support to the California MBA, in large part so that we can continue to be the strong advocacy voice for the real estate finance industry before the California State Legislature and our regulators. So very impactful support from these companies. So I'd like to thank our President's Council members for 2024. Those companies are Vylla Home, Arch MI, CMG Financial, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all so much for your support in 2024. And with that, I'd like to welcome today's guests. I'm very pleased to welcome Chad Ruggles, who's head of Vylla Home, which is the brokerage arm of Carrington Mortgage Services. Chad, welcome.
Thank you, Susan. Nice to be here.
So I always like to get started with people's journey into the mortgage business. So why don't you tell us what led you to the mortgage industry?
Well, probably a natural upbringing that I think I share with a lot of folks. I was a consumer finance kid coming out of college, worked for the consumer finance arm of Citi for years, once called Commercial Credit and then Citi Financial. And that's kind of where we cut our teeth on lending in that role. A lot of small loans, but we did real estate loans. Those were, loans that were done. They would have been considered like today almost like a non-QM or a non-agency loan. But after spending about 20 years in the consumer finance business, it was time to just get into full-on mortgage origination. And so 2014. Coming up here right at about 10-year anniversary, I started with Carrington Mortgage and worked inside the mortgage lending division for the better part of my career, for now about 6 of the 10 years, and then the last, well, actually it'll be 5 and 5 years in the mortgage, and now 5 years with the real estate brokerage.
Awesome. Well, of course, Wes Isley from Carrington is on our executive board and will be sworn in as our board chair this summer. So love working with Carrington, and Wes and I go back several years. So he's been a great supporter of the organization and a great leader. Chad, you've had a long history in the finance industry. What's your overall take of the balance of the year from the mortgage market in 2024?
Well, optimistic relative to 2023, right? Certainly, it feels like things are headed in the right direction. We're early into the year, but if rates can hold or move downward, and I think that's what a lot of the prognosticators are talking about, I think that's really good for at least the purchase mortgage part of the business. I think refi, that's still going to be a tough market for a while, but I know there's a pent-up demand for people to buy homes. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people that are just waiting also to move, right? There's a lot of people who own a home, but they want a different home for whatever those reasons are, right? I mean, in the real estate industry, we say it's the 5 Ds. It's the people who have experienced one of these 5 Ds in their life: divorce, diploma, death, diapers, and diamonds, right? Those people are wanting to move, but if that high rate environment has really kept them in place, I think any type of lower rate movement is going to get people listing homes and buying homes, and that's really good for the purchase mortgage market.
I agree with you, and I think that of course, during pandemic low rates, I mean, we're now in an environment where it's fairly normal. It's just that for people who've only been kind of looking at the market for the last few years, they think it's wildly inflated. But I think you're right. Realtors and loan officers are sharing with borrowers like this is a good time, good solid time to get into home ownership, and hopefully 24 will be a much better year than 23.
Optimistic for sure, and I think that early indications, like from the real estate brokerage perspective, right? We saw fourth quarter new listings outpace the fourth quarter of 22. That was our first indication that 24 was going to be more optimistic.
That's great. That's great. That's great statistics. So we talked earlier about, Vylla Home is part of Carrington. So how is it moving from the Carrington family of companies to running Vylla Home?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we wanted to accomplish when I moved from the mortgage business to the brokerage business for Vylla was to kind of create these synergies between really the mortgage company and the brokerage. Our tagline at Vylla is homeownership made simple. There's a lot of people out there trying to attempt to do the one-stop shop for homeownership today. We might have been one of the earlier ones into that space simply because Carrington's always had the full suite of businesses that you need to be able to buy a home. We started out with a saying, we can help you find a home, get a loan, close and own, all under one roof with the title company, the mortgage company, the brokerage. So my move over to the brokerage is to see if we can't get that business aligned, because just because you have those businesses doesn't mean that agents are going to rush out and use your mortgage company, right? All the rest out there says, they're going to provide their buyers with choices. We just want our agents at Vylla to have one of their choices when they think of a mortgage company to be Carrington. And that's not an easy thing to do. That's been a journey that we've been on, but it's really about showing value to agents, showing value to the consumer of what's in it for them when they use all of the different families of Carrington to buy a home. And it's going well, and that's what I was brought here for, and I like to think that we're progressing. You have to ask Wes, he's my boss, he'll tell you how we're doing.
Wes is my boss too. Gotta make me look good here.
Yeah.
One of the things that is top of mind outside of rates this year is cybersecurity. It continues to be a top priority really for anyone in business. Certainly running your company, you have access to a significant amount of personal information. What advice would you give to lenders about prioritizing their data and information?
Well, one, take it extremely serious. Don't let it in a priority triangle as we look at things, right? Must do's, should do's, and nice to do's. It's certainly not a nice to do. It's certainly not a should do. In today's world, it's a must do. Prioritize your team to make sure that you've got all the checks and balances in place. I think if you're looking at a week, you look at how you spend your time in a week. If this isn't one of the major areas that your team is consumed with, to making sure that you have your data governance in place, then you're probably not dedicating enough time towards it. At Carrington, we've got brilliant people that this is what they eat and breathe all day long to make sure that we keep things tight, and that's a huge priority for our company. It really should be for anybody that's got consumer data on hand.
Right. It's gosh, it just continues to be, as I feel like when we're solving for one thing, there's just other things to consider. So this is great advice. It needs to be a very high priority regardless, I think, for any company. How does Vylla Home set themselves apart from competitors?
Oh boy. Well, we think of like competitor in some regard as, I guess you'd say, other real estate brokerages, right? So if I were speaking to an agent today that was thinking about making a move, what I would tell an agent is that here, look, we're an independent owned brokerage, part of the Carrington Family of Companies. Now that in and of itself provides an agent with an abundance of opportunity that they normally wouldn't get at any other brokerage. One, we're one of the only, if not the only, real estate brokerage that's owned by a company that is a mortgage servicer. So what does that mean? Well, we service thousands of clients' mortgages. Those clients want to sell homes and they want to buy homes, right? They want to transact. So our agents get kind of an exclusive look at the Carrington customer who wants to buy a home and sell a home. I don't know that you can get that at some of the other big box name brokerages that you might know out there, right? There's partnerships, and those things can be huge benefits, right? Some of those brokerages create great partnerships, but this isn't the inside. Our agents, our Vylla agents, are on the inside, relative to that opportunity. You know, the brokerage was started in 2008, and it was known then as Carrington Real Estate Services, and it was really born out of the demand for the foreclosure and the REO business at that time, right? Everybody knows 2008-9, that's when the brokerage was born. And that REO opportunity, though it's not today available like it was in 2008, it's still there. And it's not just the REO opportunities that come from being an agent at Vylla and from the Carrington opportunities, but it's the number of institutional partnerships that we have with different servicers and asset managers that provide an incredible opportunity for our agents. I would, and you know, and then I think the last thing would be, which maybe I'm the most proud of, is our culture. I've got an incredible team. I would say a lot of brokerages offer the same stuff. I just listed some things that I don't think are out there at other brokerages, but for us, it's, those other brokerages don't have my team. They don't have the people that we trust our agents with, and you know, they're really some of the industry's best.
That's you know, the corporate culture and the teams you get to work with is really a significant part of anybody wanting to come to a company, right? So
yeah.
Certainly always love working with the folks at Carrington. So glad to hear that's carried on through Vylla Home as well. So Chad, Vylla Home has been not only a member, you're a member of the California MBA, but you're also a very consistent sponsor for our annual CAMPAC Golf Tournament, which we have a blast at, the first day of the Western Secondary Market Conference. So can you share with our listeners why you continue to support the California MBA?
Well, I mean, Carrington and Vylla, we're always looking to partner and support people where we share a common mission. What you guys try to do aligns up a lot with the same value proposition that we have. It just makes sense, that alignment and that association just makes a lot of sense. We're a big fan of what you do, is why we continue to sponsor exactly what you do, and we're proud. We're proud to be sponsors, and we're proud of the partnership.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you in August out on our new links near the Terranea Resort.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right, thank you, Chad, so much for being on Connect. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Susan. Have a great day.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on today's podcast. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.
Here we go.